Hello there, everyone. Zero Eclipse here. Long time no see. So I figured that it's been a few months, and I have plenty more time on my hands right now, as I am currently looking for another job at the moment. So if you guys can please continue to show your support like you have been, I can definitely guarantee more frequent storytelling portions. Right now, I could really use the support. It's been kind of tough here on my end. But without further ado, Chapter 8 of Equestria's Human Spirit, Canterlot. Once more, another day rose over Ponyville, and I awoke in the hospital. Around 2 weeks ago, a mare named Trixie came to Ponyville and placed us all in danger because she had caused a legendary creature known as a Veronis to attack because she tore a scale and tooth off of it, and the creature ended up tracking her. Taking my chances, I told my friends to get the others to safety while I dealt with the Veronis. I was still banged up a little, and had puncture wounds on my back, but thankfully the doctors and nurses used their magic and healed my wounds. But the scars where the Veronis hit me remained. Due to my bravery, every pony in Ponyville remembered me and had sent me gifts and flowers to me to show their gratitude to me for what I did for them. I slowly opened my eyes and looked down to see Pipsqueak sleeping peacefully in my arms. I knew something was bothering him due to the fact that he had a nightmare last night. Something about his parents. He also called me Daddy as well, and I don't know why. I'll soon get the answers I need. But for now, today will just be an easygoing day. I gently grasped Pipsqueak's shoulder and shook it gently. Pipsqueak, it's time to get up, I whispered in his ear. Pipsqueak moaned in his sleep and stirred, and finally opened his eyes. He yawned and rubbed his sleepy eyes. He looked up at me and smiled a little. Morning, Daniel. Morning, Pip. Sleep well? I asked. He nodded. Yeah, and really well, because I was here with you. I smiled and ruffled his mane, which made him giggle again. The door opened again, and I saw Redheart walk in and smile at us. Good morning, Daniel. Are you feeling better? I smiled and nodded. Yeah, a lot better now. She nodded. Glad you are. Also, Rarity wanted me to give these to you. She walked up to me and handed me a bag filled with clothing. This must be the clothing she made for me and gave me yesterday. I never got a chance to check them out since the battle with the Veronis. I smiled and thanked her while taking the bag from her. Pipsqueak, you'll have to come with me, so Redheart started. No! I want to stay here with Daniel! Pipsqueak shouted while clinging onto me, surprising me and Redheart. I was surprised by his sudden raise in voice, and he was scared. It broke my heart a little seeing him like this, but I needed to get up and get dressed. I gently grasped his shoulders, making him look up at me. I need to get up and get dressed, little buddy. I'll be out in a minute. But I cut him off by placing my fingers on his lips. I promise I'm not going anywhere. If you want to, you can wait outside the door for me with Redheart until I come out. I reassured while smiling. You promise? He asked me sadly. I smiled and nodded. Promise. He still looked unsure of himself, but he hesitantly nodded. Okay. I smiled and ruffled his mane. That's my boy. He smiled a little and walked out with Redheart. I sighed and tore off my hospital gown and started putting on my new clothing. Had to hand it to her. Rarity does wonders when it comes to making clothing. My shirt was white with some black, jagged line on the shoulder blades and on the neck brace. The pants were black with white streaks on the side, and my new jacket was black as well, with red and gold streaks on it. I was really amazed. I'm still wondering if the gold streaks are made of real gold, because they look so real. Meh, I'll ask her later. After about a minute, I threw my sword and backpack on my back and walked out of my room, and like I expected, Pipsqueak and Redheart were waiting outside of the door. Immediately, Pipsqueak lunged at me and gave me a hug, which surprised me. I smiled and hugged him back. I looked at Redheart, who was smiling while a lone tear leaked from her eye. I smiled at her and thanked her once again, signed some papers and documents, and left the hospital with the little colt in my arms. I wonder how the others are doing now. I bet they're waiting for me outside of the hospital. On cue, I opened the door, and I was right. All of my friends were in front of me, and they smiled at me. Welcome back, Sugar Cube, Applejack welcomed with a smile. I smiled back and nodded. We're glad you're okay now, dear, Rarity said. Not only that, you look very dashing in your new clothing. I blushed a little but smiled. Thank you again for the clothing. It was really nice of you. Any time, darling, Reddy said, bowing a little. Looks like Pipsqueak is taking a very big liking to you, Daniel, Twilight said, as the little colt was being held in my arms. I smiled and stroked his mane a little. I guess so. He didn't want to leave my side, even when I needed to get ready. Oh, the poor dear, Rarity said. I'm glad he has some pony like you, Daniel. He's such a sweet little colt. I nodded. I agree. I looked back at Twilight, who seemed to have a shocked face. I arched a brow and asked, You okay, Twilight? The rest of the gang looked at her as well and saw her expression. Twilight, you feeling all right? Spike asked. We forgot to make arrangements with Princess Celestia! The unicorn shouted. Who the heck is Princess Celestia? I was about to ask, but without any warning, she huddled all of us together and her horn began to glow. Every pony! Celestia! Canterlot! Now! She screamed. I was about to say something again, but then we all vanished into thin air.